Maheen says I was fired when I took time off due to a family issue. I was told that if I don't show up, I no longer have a job. I've been employed with them for 6 years full-time and have not missed more than 8 days, none of which were back-to-back.
Well, that's wrong, and certainly an employer has to provide some leeway, and there's also leaves of absences under the Employment Standards Act that the employer has to provide. So in this case, actually may be a breach of the Employment Standards Act. We have family care leave, emergency leaves that we're allowed to take under the Employment Standards Act that protects our job. So if that's what happened to him, the employer decided, well, we're not going to abide by our legal obligation, which is exactly what this sounds like what happened. He has recourse. He's not only is he owed severance, there could be, again, reprisal type of damages here. So very important to get advice.
And this goes for medical leave as well, right?
Absolutely, medical leave. An employer doesn't get to choose when you take a medical leave. It's if you can't work, you have a doctor's note, you get to be off work. The employer can't say, well, we don't have medical leave. A doctor decides if you get to be on leave.
How much leeway does the employer have if you're on a medical leave as far as asking when you'll be back, what's wrong with you? Do they have any leeway in that regard?
Well, an employer, I always say, is allowed to know prognosis, not diagnosis. So an employer can find out and ask for information from you about when can you be back and what your limitations are. They cannot know what's your medical condition, what medication you're taking. They're not allowed to have that information. All they need to know is whether you can and cannot work and when that may change. So a lot of times I see employers overreaching, asking for information that they're not allowed to have. That's wrong. That could be a human rights violation. An employer should also not be harassing an employee that's off work trying to get better. And I do see that, unfortunately, as well. And again, more reason, yet another one, to get legal advice.
Lost your job? Employment law myth number 7.
Involving an employment lawyer is expensive.
Fact, in most cases, fees are nominal, and the employer will ultimately cover the fees. Always go to employmentlawyer.ca and check with the employment lawyer first.